One morning I woke up and realized something. I was just tired of living the same day again and again. I was busy working hard every day, yet somehow stuck in the same place. Have you ever felt that way? Like you're moving, but not moving forward? That morning, I told myself, enough. If I can't change everything, I'll start with something. My habits. So I picked up 7 habits, and for 7 days, I gave it my all following them. And what happened next completely changed the direction of my life. So my dear friends, let me tell you exactly which 7 habits I changed and how they changed me. The first key point is the habit of ruthless honesty. The kind of honesty that doesn't sound poetic, but punches straight through your comfort zone. You see, most people think lying is only about the words we tell others. But the most dangerous lies are the ones we whisper to ourselves. I'm doing my best. I'll start tomorrow. It's not my fault. Those sentences are the softest pillows for a restless mind. They help you sleep, but they keep your dreams dying quietly. When I decided to confront my truth, it wasn't some grand, heroic act. It was messy. It was uncomfortable. But it was real. And that's where transformation begins. In the moment you stop performing strength and start admitting weakness. I remember sitting at my desk that night with nothing but a pen, a notebook, and a storm of thoughts. I wrote down every area of my life where I was pretending. My work ethic, my health, my habits, my relationships. The paper didn't judge, but it revealed. Line after line I saw my reflection, raw and unfiltered. I realized how often I blamed circumstances for the results that were really born from my choices. That realization felt like betrayal. Betrayal from the person I trusted most, myself. But that's the paradox of growth. The truth hurts not because it breaks you, but because it exposes how long you've been holding yourself back. Most people never experience real progress because they're addicted to partial honesty. They'll admit they're tired, but not lazy. They'll admit they're scared, but not undisciplined. They'll say they're trying, when in reality, they're dabbling. But when you finally strip the sugar, coating off your excuses, something powerful happens. You stop negotiating with your potential. You begin to see that the distance between where you are and where you want to be isn't measured in time or talent. It's measured in truth. The day you face it is the day you start moving forward with clarity. Ruthless honesty doesn't mean self-hatred. It means self-awareness with courage. It's looking at your flaws without flinching. It's saying, yes, I messed up, and then asking, what am I willing to do about it? When I started owning my mistakes instead of defending them, life began to shift. My focus sharpened, my actions gained weight. The noise of self-doubt started fading, replaced by a quiet strength. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything, only improve everything. Honesty built confidence, not because I became perfect, but because I stopped pretending. There's something liberating about not needing to wear a mask anymore. You walk lighter. You breathe easier. When you stop lying to yourself, you stop fearing the world's judgment. Because what can people use against you when you've already faced your truth? You become untouchable, not because life gets easier, but because you no longer waste energy hiding. Honesty doesn't just reveal your flaws, it reveals your power to change them. It becomes your inner compass, always pointing you toward who you could become if you just stay real long enough to grow. And the beautiful thing, honesty doesn't require talent, luck, or privilege. It only asks for courage. The courage to look at your reflection without filters, without pity, without excuses. When you do, you'll find that the truth you've been avoiding is the very key you've been searching for. The moment you face it, you stop running in circles and start walking in direction. That's what ruthless honesty did for me. It stripped away illusions, left me with nothing but my raw potential. And for the first time in my life, that was more than enough. The second key point is the habit of morning mastery, and it completely redefined how I experienced my days. Most people underestimate the power of their first hour after waking up. They roll over, grab their phones, and instantly dive into other people's lives. Notifications, headlines, messages. Before their feet even touch the floor, their minds are already cluttered with noise that doesn't belong to them. That was me for years. My morning started in chaos, and somehow I expected peace to show up later. But peace isn't something you stumble upon halfway through the day. It's something you create at the start. The way you begin your morning isn't just a routine. It's a declaration of how you intend to live your life. I decided to reclaim that first hour as sacred ground. No phone, no distractions. Just me, silence, and purpose. The first few days felt strange, almost uncomfortable, like my mind was addicted to noise. But as the minutes passed, I began to notice something powerful: clarity. I realized how much of my anxiety wasn't coming from the day ahead, but from the chaos I allowed in at sunrise. So I replaced the scroll with stillness. I began journaling my thoughts, reading something that stretched my mind, and spending time in quiet reflection before the world had a chance to speak. It wasn't about perfection, it was about presence. There's something sacred about early hours when the world is still asleep. It's almost like time slows down to give you space to breathe, to think, to connect with yourself before anyone else can reach you. In that silence, you start hearing your own voice again. Not the voice of fear or comparison, but the voice of intention. I learned that the world doesn't need more people who wake up just to react. It needs more people who wake up with direction. When you master your morning, you stop living by accident and start living by design. I also learned that mastery isn't about complexity. You don't need a 3-hour morning routine or a checklist that feels like a full-time job. Some mornings, I just sat with my coffee and gratitude. No noise, no rush, just awareness. Other mornings, I'd move, stretch, or write. The goal wasn't to do everything. It was to do something that aligned me with who I wanted to be. Most people lose their mornings because they chase motivation, but discipline is what protects that sacred hour. You don't need to feel inspired to take control of your day. You just need to show up before the world demands you to. I began noticing that the quality of my mornings determined the quality of my decisions. When I started my day slow and mindful, I carried that calmness into my work, my relationships, and my challenges. But when I woke up rushed, everything else followed that pattern. It's like the first 60 minutes set the rhythm for the next 16 hours. That's when I realized a powerful morning isn't about doing more. It's about being more before you start doing anything at all. The morning is where momentum is born, and when you win it, the rest of the day feels like a continuation of that victory. Eventually, that first hour became my sanctuary, a place I ran to, not from. It was no longer about trying to control the day, but preparing myself to meet it with strength and clarity. I understood that the greatest battles are not fought in boardrooms, gyms, or offices. They're fought in the first few moments after you wake up. That's where discipline meets purpose, and chaos meets calm. And when you learn to master your mornings, you stop chasing time and start commanding it. The third key point is the habit of relentless discipline, and it's the one that separated my old life from my new one. Most people wait to feel ready before they act, but the truth is readiness never arrives. Motivation is a guest, discipline is a resident. It doesn't knock, it doesn't ask permission, it just shows up. I learned that discipline is doing what you said you would do, even when the excitement disappears, even when nobody is watching, even when you don't feel like it. In those moments when I felt tired, distracted, or uninspired, I realized something. Discipline is not about doing what's easy. It's about doing what's necessary. The person I wanted to become didn't need comfort. He needed consistency. At first, I made the mistake of waiting for the right mood to start. If I wasn't feeling focused, I'd delay. If I wasn't feeling strong, I'd skip. And slowly, I built a pattern of betraying my own promises. Every time I gave in to comfort, I taught my mind that my word didn't matter. That realization hit hard. I understood that every skipped workout, every delayed task, every excuse wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was a broken contract with myself. So I changed the rule. I stopped asking, "Do I feel like it?" and replaced it with, "Did I promise myself this?" If the answer was yes, the decision was already made. No debate, no delay. The beauty of discipline is that it compounds quietly. You don't notice its rewards in one day, but you start feeling its presence in your posture, your focus, and your peace. There's a strange confidence that grows from keeping promises to yourself. You stop seeking validation because you know you can trust your own word. That trust builds internal power, the kind that no one can give you and no one can take away. When I began showing up for myself, even in silence, the noise of doubt started to fade. I realized that success doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency repeated long enough to look effortless. Discipline also taught me the difference between pressure and progress. Many people quit because they confuse discomfort with failure. They think struggling means something's wrong, but struggle is simply the price of progress. Every disciplined person you admire has fought boredom, fatigue, and doubt. The only difference is they didn't let those feelings vote. They worked anyway. They kept showing up. I remember waking up some mornings with zero energy, no spark, just resistance. But I tell myself, if you can't give 100%, give whatever you've got. Some days that meant 80%. Some days it was just 40%. But even on those days, I still moved forward. And those small imperfect steps became the foundation of unstoppable momentum. I also learned that discipline isn't about perfection. It's about direction. You'll mess up. You'll miss days. You'll fall short. But the disciplined mind doesn't stay there. It doesn't drown in guilt. It resets and returns stronger. The goal isn't to never fall, but to shorten the gap between failure and action. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Most people fall and wait to feel ready. Again, disciplined people rise and act before feelings catch up. It's not that they never struggle. It's that they've trained their mind to move even when struggle shows up. With time, discipline became more than a habit. It became a language my body understood. My mind learned that effort wasn't punishment, it was preparation. My spirit learned that comfort doesn't build character, commitment does. And every day that I honored my word, even in small ways, my self-respect grew. The world respects people who respect their own commitments. That's what relentless discipline does. It rewires your identity. You stop trying to be disciplined. You become the kind of person who doesn't need to try anymore. The fourth key point is the habit of selective energy, and this one reshaped the way I viewed relationships, conversations, and even my thoughts. For the longest time, I thought being kind meant being available to everyone. I said yes to everything, every invitation, every favor, every unnecessary argument that demanded my peace as payment. I was drained, constantly busy, but never fulfilled. That's when I realized something powerful. Not everyone deserves access to you. Energy is a currency, and if you spend it carelessly, you end up spiritually bankrupt. The people around you either feed your fire or dim it. There's no neutral ground. Once I learned that, I stopped chasing connections that cost me clarity. I started observing people differently, not through what they said, but through how I felt after spending time with them. Some left me lighter, inspired, ready to chase my goals. Others left me questioning myself, exhausted, or small. It wasn't always intentional, sometimes it was just misalignment. But still, it mattered. Protecting my energy didn't mean cutting everyone off. It meant filtering who and what entered my inner space. I realized that emotional clutter is just as toxic as physical clutter. You can't grow in peace if your mind is crowded with other people's noise. So I began auditing my circle, not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. Some people deserve distance, not hate. This shift wasn't easy. I had to confront guilt. The guilt of saying no, of choosing silence over explanation, of walking away from people who once felt like home, but now felt like anchors. But growth demands boundaries. The same way you protect your money from theft, you must protect your peace from unnecessary drama. I learned that boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They don't keep love out, they keep chaos out. When I began setting those boundaries, something incredible happened. I started attracting people who respected them. It's as if life rewards clarity with better company. Another aspect of selective energy is managing what you consume mentally. It's not just people that drain you. It's the content you scroll through, the conversations you entertain, the worries you replay. Every thought you allow into your mind shapes your vibration. I started treating my attention like real estate, only valuable tenants allowed. Instead of spending mornings absorbing negativity online, I began feeding my mind with ideas that built me. Inspiration isn't found by accident, it's cultivated by what you choose to engage with. Protecting your energy also means protecting your mental diet. Over time, I noticed a pattern. When you stop wasting energy on things that don't align with your purpose, life starts moving faster. Opportunities show up. Clarity sharpens. Creativity expands. It's not that life suddenly becomes easier. It's that you stop bleeding energy in places that don't matter. I realized that most people aren't tired because they're doing too much. They're tired because they're giving too much to the wrong things. Selective energy is about direction, channeling your focus where it multiplies instead of where it disappears. Once you master that, your potential stops leaking and starts compounding. And perhaps the hardest truth I learned through this is that peace often looks like loneliness at first. When you start protecting your energy, the world gets quieter. Some people will misunderstand your silence, thinking you've changed, and they'll be right. You've stopped being available for things that drain you. You've started investing that energy into growth, purpose, and presence. And though it might feel uncomfortable at the start, that solitude becomes your sanctuary. Because when your energy is pure, your direction becomes clear. And nothing is more powerful than a person who finally knows where to give their attention. The fifth key point is the habit of daily reflection. and it became the mirror through which I finally began to understand myself. Life moves fast, too fast for most people to notice what's really happening. We rush from one task to another, from one goal to the next, and then wonder why the days feel like a blur. That was me. I was living on autopilot, celebrating small wins, ignoring small mistakes, and never stopping long enough to ask, what did today teach me? Reflection changed that. It slowed down the noise. It allowed me to step outside my own rush and look at my life like an observer. Because when you don't take time to reflect, you don't actually live, you just exist in motion. When I began this habit, it was uncomfortable. Sitting in silence with your own thoughts is harder than most people think. The mind starts replaying things you'd rather forget. Conversations you regret, opportunities you missed, words you wish you hadn't said. But that discomfort is necessary. It's your inner self trying to hand you lessons you've been too distracted to receive. I started writing down 3 simple questions every night. What did I do right today? Where did I fall short? What did I learn? Some days, the answers were inspiring, other days, they were painfully honest. But over time, those pages became a roadmap of growth. A story written not by perfection, but by awareness. Reflection taught me that failure is only wasted when it's ignored. Every setback carries a message, and the moment you stop running from it, you start evolving. There were times I looked back and realized how often I repeated the same mistakes simply because I never stopped to study them. We say experience is the best teacher, but that's only true if we actually listen to it. Reflection is how you turn experience into education. It transforms every misstep into insight, every wound into wisdom. When I began reviewing my actions daily, I stopped fearing mistakes. I started mining them for meaning. It also changed how I viewed success. I used to measure progress by achievements, how much I got done, how many goals I hit. But reflection showed me that growth isn't always visible. Some days, success looks like patience. Some days it's restraint. Some days it's not reacting when you easily could. Without reflection, you overlook the silent victories, the ones that happen inside you. I realized that the person who grows quietly every day eventually becomes unrecognizable to the one who never paused to think. Reflection made me value subtle progress over loud accomplishments. Another powerful lesson I learned through reflection was emotional accountability. It's easy to blame the world, but reflection forces you to look inward. It made me ask hard questions. Why did that situation bother me so much? Why did I react that way? What am I avoiding? I began to notice patterns, the same triggers, the same excuses, the same behaviors that kept holding me back. Awareness doesn't fix everything instantly, but it gives you the power to choose differently next time. Reflection became my emotional reset button, a moment each day to realign with the person I was trying to become, not just the one I had been. And perhaps the most beautiful part of reflection is how it teaches gratitude through awareness. When you slow down to notice what went right, even the smallest details start to feel significant. A smile from a stranger, a moment of peace, a goal achieved quietly. Reflection reminded me that even on chaotic days, there's always something to be thankful for. And that simple recognition changes everything. Because the more you reflect, the more you realize life was never rushing past you. You were just moving too fast to see it. The 6th key point is the habit of gratitude under pressure, and it taught me that true strength isn't measured by how calm you are when life is easy, but by how centered you remain when everything is falling apart. Gratitude sounds simple when the sun is shining, when you're winning, when everything goes your way. But when life hits hard, when plans collapse, when people disappoint you, when the future feels uncertain, gratitude becomes a challenge. I used to believe that gratitude meant ignoring pain, pretending everything was fine. But I learned that real gratitude doesn't deny reality, it redefines it. It's the ability to say, "This hurts, but I'm still thankful for the lesson hidden in it." That shift changed the way I faced every setback after that. When life tested me, my first instinct was always frustration. I'd ask, "Why now? Why me?" But that mindset only deepened my pain. One day I decided to flip the question. Instead of asking, "Why me?" I asked, "What is this trying to teach me?" That one change in language opened a new level of resilience. I began to see that every challenge was training, a lesson in disguise designed to shape me for something bigger. Gratitude under pressure is like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Every time you choose to be thankful in chaos, you remind yourself that you are bigger than your circumstances. It's not blindness, it's bravery, the courage to find meaning in the mess. There was a point in my life when everything seemed to go wrong at once. Financial struggles, failed plans, emotional burnout. It felt like the universe was against me. But in that storm, I forced myself to write down 3 things I was grateful for each day. Some days it felt impossible, but I wrote anyway: the roof over my head, a friend who checked in, the fact that I was still breathing. Slowly, my perspective shifted. The problems didn't disappear, but their weight started to change. Gratitude didn't erase my pain. It gave me the strength to carry it without breaking. It reminded me that even in darkness, light exists. Sometimes faint, sometimes distant, but always there for those who choose to look. I realized that gratitude isn't an emotion, it's a decision. You don't wait to feel thankful, you decide to be thankful. It's easy to focus on what's missing. The opportunity you didn't get, the person who left, the dream that failed. But gratitude rewires your vision. It trains your mind to recognize what's still present, what's still working, what's still worth fighting for. When you practice this long enough, your brain begins to shift automatically from complaint to curiosity. Instead of saying, "I hate this situation," you start asking, "What can I build from this?" That mental transformation is where power lies. Gratitude under pressure also changes how you treat others. When you learn to appreciate life, even in your own storms, you develop compassion for others fighting theirs. You stop comparing struggles and start connecting through them. Gratitude humbles you. It reminds you that no matter how difficult things feel, someone else is praying for the life you have. That awareness keeps you grounded. It softens your heart in moments where anger used to take over. It makes you patient, kinder, more human. Gratitude doesn't just heal the heart, it matures it. And perhaps the most profound realization that came from this habit was that gratitude doesn't come after peace. It creates it. The world teaches us that we'll be thankful once things get better, but life works the other way around. Things get better when we choose to be thankful. Gratitude isn't about pretending the storm doesn't exist. It's about finding shelter within it. It's the quiet voice inside that says, "I'm still here, I'm still standing, and even now I have something to be thankful for." When you understand that, no amount of pressure can break you, because gratitude has already taught you how to bend without falling. The 7th key point is the habit of unshakable vision, and it became the compass that guided every other change in my life. Most people live by what they see, They wake up, react to what's in front of them, and call it life. But sight and vision are two very different things. Sight shows you where you are, vision shows you where you could be. I spent years living by sight, chasing short-term wins, following trends, reacting to problems, until one day I realized I was busy but not directed. I was moving fast but nowhere meaningful. The moment I sat down and defined my vision, not what others expected from me, but what I truly wanted, everything shifted. A clear vision doesn't just give you goals, it gives your struggles purpose. At first, building that vision felt intimidating. I didn't know where to start. My mind was filled with doubt. What if I'm not capable enough? What if it doesn't work? But that's the beauty of vision. It doesn't demand certainty, only courage. I began to write not what I thought was possible, but what I truly desired, without filters, without fear of judgment. I wrote how I wanted to live, what kind of person I wanted to become, how I wanted to make people feel when they met me. The more I wrote, the more vivid it became, like a movie playing in my mind. And slowly, that image started pulling me forward. I realized that you don't chase vision. Vision draws you in once you commit to it fully. Having an unshakable vision means you stop letting your circumstances define your limits. There were moments when things went completely wrong. Plans failed, opportunities vanished. But instead of giving up, I reminded myself, this is part of the path, not the end of it. Vision turns obstacles into checkpoints. It gives meaning to resistance. Without it, every setback feels like a wall. With it, every setback feels like a test. The truth is, most people quit not because they're weak, but because they've lost sight of why they started. Vision keeps that why alive, even when the how is unclear. It becomes your anchor when emotions try to pull you away. I learned that a true vision isn't just about success, it's about identity. It asks, who do I need to become to live this life? That question changed everything for me. I stopped waiting for opportunities to align with my goals and started aligning myself with my vision. That meant changing habits, cutting distractions, and doing things that felt uncomfortable but necessary. Vision demands transformation. It doesn't ask for convenience, it asks for commitment. And when you finally decide that your future matters more than your comfort, your actions begin to change naturally. You start thinking, moving, and choosing like the person you're becoming, not the one you've been. Another lesson I learned is that vision thrives in solitude. The world will not always understand what you see, and that's okay. When I started sharing my goals, some people laughed, others doubted, but I learned not to take it personally. They couldn't see my vision because it wasn't theirs to see. You can't expect others to believe in something they weren't given the eyes to understand. That's why it's called your vision. It belongs to you. Protect it from negativity, nurture it with belief, and feed it with action. Every small step you take in alignment with that vision strengthens it until one day the world sees what you've been seeing all along. And perhaps the most powerful truth about an unshakable vision is that it gives pain a purpose. It doesn't remove struggle, it makes it meaningful. When you have a clear destination, even the hard days serve you. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start saying, this is preparing me. Vision makes you patient in progress because you understand that every delay, every detour is shaping the person required to carry the dream. Without vision, pain feels like punishment. With vision, pain becomes preparation. That's the gift of having a clear direction. It turns every challenge into a stepping stone toward the life you were always meant to live. When I look back at those 7 days and those 7 habits, I realize it was never really about the number. It wasn't the days that changed me, it was the decisions I made inside them. Each habit was like a seed, small at first, almost invisible, but together they grew into something powerful. A version of me I didn't know I was capable of becoming. And that's the truth about transformation. It doesn't wait for a perfect moment. It begins the second you stop running from your truth and start walking toward your potential. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need 100-step plan or endless motivation. You just need one decision to start now, right where you are, with what you have. Because change doesn't happen in some distant future, it happens in the next choice you make. The next time you wake up, choose discipline over comfort. The next time you fail, choose reflection over regret. The next time life tests you, choose gratitude over frustration. Every choice rewires your destiny. There will be days when it feels like nothing's working, when your efforts go unnoticed, when doubt whispers louder than belief. But remember this: consistency always speaks louder than applause. Keep showing up. Keep growing quietly. Life rewards the ones who keep planting, even when the soil looks dry. Every small action, every honest step, every moment of discipline is adding up in ways you can't see yet. The world doesn't need another perfect person. It needs more awakened ones. People who have looked at their own flaws and decided to rise anyway. You were not born to repeat yesterday. You were born to build something new within yourself and through yourself. So take these 7 habits not as rules, but as reminders that growth is possible no matter where you start. If 1 week can spark this much change, imagine what a lifetime of conscious living could do. You're not waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle in motion. The question is no longer, can you change? The question is, will you begin? Because the life you want isn't waiting somewhere far away. It's waiting on the other side of 7 brave days and 1 powerful decision to start.